Hey guys, Frank here. So today we're gonna finish off chapter 47 of Genesis, which is verses 21 through 31, and then we'll go from there. I'm gonna read it, talk about it like I always do, give my thoughts, those kind of things. So here we go. And again, this is right after the people of Egypt offer themselves as well as their livestock to Pharaoh for food, because we're still dealing with the 7 years of famine. Just to give y'all some context going into the rest of this part of the story. So here we go. Verse 21. And again, I'm reading out of NLT. Verse 21 starts out like this. As for the people, he made them all slaves, from one end of Egypt to the other. The only land he did not buy was the land belonging to the priests. They received an atonement of food directly from Pharaoh, so they didn't need to sell their land. Then Joseph said to the people, "Look, today I have bought you and your land for Pharaoh. I will provide you with seed so you can plant the fields. Then when you harvest it, 1/5 of your crops will belong to Pharaoh. You may keep the remaining 4/5 as seed for your fields and as food for you, your households, and your little ones." "You have saved our lives," they exclaimed. "May it please you, my lord, to let us be Pharaoh's servant." Joseph then issued a decree, still in effect in the land of Egypt, that Pharaoh should receive 1/5 of all the crops grown on his land. Only the land belonging to the priest was not given to Pharaoh. Meanwhile, the people of Israel settled in the land of Goshen in Egypt. There they acquired property, and they were fruitful, and their population grew. Jacob lived for 17 years after he arrived in Egypt, so he lived 147 years in all. As the time of his death drew near, Jacob called for his son Joseph and said to him, "Please do me this favor. Put your hand under my thigh and swear that you will treat me with unfailing love by honoring this last request. Do not bury me in Egypt. When I die, please take my body out of Egypt and bury me with my ancestors." So Joseph promised, "I will do as you ask." "Swear that you will do it," Jacob insisted. So Joseph gave his oath, and Jacob bowed humbly at the head of his bed. Alright guys, so that was the end of chapter 47. Again, if you're wondering, that was verses 21 through 31. Um, my thoughts on it. First of all, we see that even in the moment where, you know, the Egyptian people have sold themselves to be servants of Pharaoh, slaves of Pharaoh, that even in that moment, Joseph is still fair to the people. He tells them, look, because of as of today you have sold yourself to Pharaoh and I have bought you for him. He says, I will give you the means to grow crops in the fields, and because those fields now belong to Pharaoh, you must give 1/5 of every crop back to Pharaoh. But he says, you may keep the rest of it. You may keep the other 4/5. He tells them, so that they may eat and so that their families may eat. Right, so I think that part of it shows me that in every circumstance, no matter what it is, we must be fair to everyone. So that's the big takeaway I take away from that. The other thing we see here is that it starts talking about Jacob preparing for his death. You know, it says that Jacob lived another 17 years. So I find that interesting that Joseph was taken away from Jacob at the age of 17. And so what did God do? God gave him 17 years with his son that he had missed for so long before God called him home, right? We start to see Jacob preparing for his death by, you know, he calls for Joseph and Joseph comes to him and he makes him make a promise that when Jacob shall die, that Joseph is to leave the land of Egypt with his body and bury him next to his ancestors. And I think that is so powerful that, you know, Jacob already knows God's plan and is following God's plan. You know, he knows that God has a plan for him even in death, that he shall be buried next to the ancestors, the burial ground that I believe it was Abraham had prepared for all of his descendants. And we see, you know, that playing out now with Jacob, is that he's, you know, preparing to return to his homeland in his death. And so I'm not sure what to learn from that, except for, you know, we must always obey and be good with God's plan, right? Because, I mean, God says it in Jeremiah 29:11. He says, I have plans for you to help you prosper, not to make you fail. You know, so we see there that God has a plan for everyone. Even in death, a plan has already in place. So I think that's very powerful, and I think it's powerful that Joseph, given everything he's been through, is still willing to obey the plans of God and honor his father's last request. And so we're going to see tomorrow kind of where the story goes from there. But if you're familiar with the Bible, I'm sure you're already familiar with where the story is going to go from here. But anyway, that's it for today, guys. I just wanted to, get this out to you early for today and kind of let y'all marinate on that part of the story. So tomorrow we will start with Genesis 48. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Please be safe and remember, be good to those around you. Pray for those around you. Pray for those who even do you harm. Alright, have a good day, guys. Talk to y'all later. Bye.